Hi, I'm Psiman and welcome to the 30-second vlog on this channel. And today I've got to start with a quick apology. I'm really sorry that I haven't uploaded any videos recently. It was my intention when starting out making YouTube videos again that I was going to make at least one every week, whether that be a vlog or just a simple gameplay video, but I've been a bit distracted with work and with being ill, and now I'm not even in the UAE. No, I haven't moved again this time, just popped back to the UK for a short holiday. I've got a wedding to attend to. My niece is getting married in a week, and well, there's friends to see, family to see as well. So I'm back hanging out at my parents' place. This is their sofa. And so I thought, well, I'll take this opportunity as I don't have much to do right now. I thought I'll make a little video because in this last month and a half, I've done quite a lot of gaming. There's a fair few bits to talk about. And of course, E3 has not long finished. So there are quite a few gaming related things there for me to chat about. So let's start with the bits of gaming that I've been doing since speaking to you last. And I suppose the most notable thing out of all of those games is, well, the reason that I bought my Wii U. Yes, I've finally been able to play Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I have to say, I was not as blown away as I thought I was going to be. I do like it. I can see why it's a really good game. But I'm not sure why, when I got excited about playing this, that the little alarm bells didn't start ringing in the back of my head telling me, you don't like this sort of game, you don't like fantasy games. Because really, I'm not a massive fan of this genre, fantasy RPGs. So I probably don't like it as much as many of you who are into this sort of thing, but I can definitely see there is greatness in it, and I do really enjoy some of the gameplay elements. I like that you've got freedom to explore the land and that Link can climb pretty much any surface as long as he's not completely out of breath and then have to fall off it again. And well, I suppose another thing that stops him is if he climbs the mountains too high, he seems to get pretty cold up the top of some of them. But, you know, there's this great landscape to explore. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage to show you because, well, one, I don't have a capture card, and two, Nintendo seem to get a bit upset about those sorts of things being shown, so I'm not going to incur their wrath. So, oh, and I suppose the third thing is I don't have my Wii U here or any of my other machines. I don't have a decent computer to edit this video on, so this is just going to be put on my wife's MacBook Air using iMovie, so there's not going to be any fancy inserts of exciting video footage or gameplay footage for you to see. It's just going to be me talking at the camera, so sorry if that's going to be a bit too boring. You might want to switch off now. Anyway, back to Breath of the Wild, because there's a lot that's good about it and there's a lot that feels modern about it, but at the same time there are quite a few bits that feel a bit not even last generation, kind of the generation before. And one thing that really stood out to me, and this might be quite normal for Japanese RPGs, but there are characters that you speak to and their voice, either they have no voice, you're just reading text, or they speak to you a little bit and then you have to read the rest of the interaction from text. Or one of the other problems is that they're not lip synced. they'll just sort of wiggle their mouths and sound will kind of come out. It's so odd. It felt really distracting to see this kind of thing in a modern game. But, you know, putting those little things aside, what I've experienced of it so far is quite good. But I think one of the problems is that I haven't been compelled by the game itself to continue playing it. I completed the first sort of section, almost like the tutorial of the game, where you get to learn a bit about your abilities. And then when you escape that part of the map, you're given the ability, I guess. I think I haven't travelled anywhere I wanted to, but I kind of get the impression you can travel all over the map. And I met a couple of other characters. I've visited a couple more shrines. I think picked up a couple of abilities, and I like the fact that it doesn't really seem to be holding my hand. That I like. But yeah, I kind of got to a point in it, and then at the same time I was playing another game and I got distracted by that other game. And I'll talk about that other game in a minute, because admittedly the game is nowhere near as good as Zelda Breath of the Wild, but it was enough to distract me from it. But I'll talk about another game I mentioned in the last video, and that's Uncharted 4. And I finally finished it, and I have to say I was very satisfied when I came to the end of the story. I'm not going to spoil any of it for any of you that haven't played the game, but I got to the end and I thought, yeah, that's a nice ending. I don't feel like I want more of the story. I could have done with it being maybe 5 hours shorter, maybe even more, but it wasn't too long. It didn't bore me come the end of the story, and I was very satisfied. And if I were to kind of rank my favourite Uncharted experiences, it'd be near the top. I think Uncharted 2 is still my favourite, and then maybe this one, Uncharted 4, and then Uncharted 1, and maybe Uncharted 3 at the bottom. But, you know, they're all good games. But I think it's only Uncharted 2 that I really, really loved. And maybe if I went back and played it today, I would not be as wowed by it as I was. In fact, yeah, I'm sure I saw it. I've been keeping an eye on the prices of games at the sort of local cash converters and CEX. I think they've got that one second hand for about £8. So if I see that, I might get it. Anyway, so that was Uncharted 4. Good game. If you, like me, if you get it for £20, then I think, you know, that's pretty cool. Now, the next game is something that you might think was the game that would have distracted me from Breath of the Wild, because it has two things that I really like: VR and Star Trek. It mashes them together. But I wouldn't say Star Trek Bridge Crew is a real disappointment, but I haven't really delved into it in the way that I think the game is intended, because I've only been playing it offline. And it is kind of cool sitting in your chair with your VR headset on and looking around you, and there's a bridge of a Starfleet spaceship, and you can push buttons and tell people to do things. But I think where it really comes into its own is playing it with other real people and shouting the commands as the captain, or responding to the captain's commands as one of the other stations. For those of you that know nothing about it, it's a multiplayer game, 4 players. One of you can play the captain. You've then got the helm, so flying the spaceship. Then you've got the kind of tactical console using weapons and I think transporters as well, and scanners. And then you've got engineering as well, where you have to balance all the energy levels so the other two can do what the captain wants, basically. And you've all got to work in harmony to complete the missions that are sent to you by Starfleet. And yeah, it's quite a cool experience. Whether what I've played of it so far hasn't really been worth the £40 or however much it was that I paid for it. I got it on the PC, downloaded it from Steam as soon as I could, bought it on day one. But it is a cross-play title, so I should be able to play it with people who've got PSVR, and I've got a friend with PSVR, as you know. I borrowed his headset from him, but he hasn't got Bridge Crew yet. So I'm hoping when I get back to the UAE, he will have that. So yeah, it was interesting, but not the game that took all that time away and distracted me from Breath of the Wild. It was actually one of the free games on PlayStation Plus. Last month now. This was the June selection of games. And I suppose it wouldn't surprise you because it is made by, I think, a Finnish developer that I really like called Housemarque, the people who made Resogun and the soon-to-be launched Nex Machina that I talked about in the last video. And their game on PlayStation Plus last month was Alienation. And it's a twin-stick shooter. It's kind of like XCOM, but a kind of isometric, well, which XCOM is, but a twin-stick shooter where you can play with up to 2 other friends and shoot things. It's weird that it's as simple as that. You just go around the map blasting things, and you can choose between 3 different characters who really don't have a lot of difference between them. One's like a tank character. He's much stronger apparently, and he's got a faster firing weapon, but the range is limited. You've then got like a bio specialist who's a bit like a medic who can heal himself and his teammates if they're close by. And then you've got kind of like a close combat specialist who, I suppose his only advantage is that he can rush twice in quick succession. So part of the game is shooting the enemies, but the rush button is quite important to be able to run away from gangs of enemies. It's one of those games where you can get swarmed by minions, but when there are so many of them, they can easily kill you in no time at all. So yeah, and it has sort of RPG light elements in that your character levels up, and there are weapons a la Destiny where you can get different colours of weapons. You get your sort of stock weapons, your uncommon weapons, your rare, and then your legendary weapons. And I think they use the same colour scheme as Destiny, where it's a sort of orangey gold colour for legendary, a purpley colour for rare, blue for uncommon. Is it blue? Yeah, blue, and then there's a green, and then stock colour is just white. But I don't know whether you find this as a problem with some of these shooter games, and other games in general where your character levels up, because it almost seems pointless, because sure, my character's stats get higher, but then when I play the next part of the game, the enemy's stats are higher. So what's the point in my character getting more powerful? I mean, more powerful. Because he's not, or she's not. Because the difficulty to destroy the enemies is about the same as it was on the level before, but my character's stats are higher, and now the enemy's stats are higher. It's like, It's just some little trick to keep us playing. But for me, I don't think that was the trick that kept me playing. I think it was just purely that I really enjoyed, and I do enjoy, just playing twin stick shooters. And even though this one has got quite a few sort of flaws in it, that it can feel like you're being cheated by the game. On more than one occasion, I've got to the point where, you know, I'm running through the level and then something off screen shoots me and I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to see that? Or something comes running onto the screen and just kills my character without me knowing that it was there. For me, the map isn't zoomed out enough, and although there is a mini map in the game, it doesn't give you any indication about the monsters that your character should be able to see, but because of, you know, the way the screen is positioned, you can't see it, but these creatures are only just off the edge of the screen, so it should really show you that on the mini map. And you have characters that can stand off the screen and shoot you, but your bullets, even with the longest range weapons, don't seem to go any further than the edge of the screen. So yeah, it's there are some bits that are annoying, but I've just found the game so addictive. I played all the way through the game with one character, and then although you do keep going through it and leveling up, and then if you play through it a couple of times, a harder difficulty level unlocks and you beat that. And then I played through it once and then thought, oh, okay, I want to try it with a different character now. So played through it with the next character and then still wasn't bored and thought, oh, I want to play through it with the next character. I mean, it was the same game. It's the same levels, the same monsters you're shooting, but something about it kept me wanting to come back and play more. And it was free. So I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing that. Would definitely recommend it to anyone. You know, it's not one of there are a new selection of PS Plus titles, but maybe some of you downloaded it and haven't played it yet. I'd say check it out. Go through. It's a bit slow to start, but play through the first 4 or 5 levels and give it a go. And if you're really good at those sort of games, you can play it on hardcore mode, where when you die, that's it. You have to go all the way back to the beginning of the game. And that's how I first started playing it. But then I found I just couldn't get past level 3 and got so annoyed that just put it on normal level, and then you respawn an infinite number of times. But yeah, it's good. And it's one of those games that has a score multiplier in it. And so you want to stay alive to keep that score multiplier alive, because once you max out the score multiplier, you get much better loot being dropped by the monsters, or the chests, the boxes and things that you open. Yeah, so I can't say enough good things about it. You know, I mean, it has its flaws. It's not a perfect game, but I had a lot of fun playing it. So those have been my games. There've been other things that I've played in little bits and pieces in that time. Played a little bit of Xbox 360 backwards compatible stuff on the Xbox One S. So, for example, a bit more of Red Dead Redemption, a bit of Assassin's Creed Revelations. I'm sure there's a couple of other things in there. A little bit more PC gaming, obviously some VR stuff. Played a VR copy, a rip-off of Rainbow Six Siege called Breach It, which is just one of these very, very early access games, an indie title, but leads me, and I thought this as soon as I played Rainbow Six Siege, is that this would make a great VR game, and well, this guy's just shown that that's the reality. Why are Ubisoft not doing it? They need to get on that one. We didn't see that at E3, so I don't think it's coming anytime soon. But we did see quite a few other things at E3. And overall, there were not that many things that excited me about the coming year or 2 years of video gaming. There was not enough mention of VR for my liking. I had my fingers crossed that Oculus or Steam, Valve, would come out and say, "Well, surprise, surprise! We know we said we're not bringing anything out until 2018, but we're going to bring out a new VR headset that's going to be wireless and higher resolution." But nobody said anything like that, and yeah, I know that's going to be another year away yet. I'm just getting a little bit too excited and want better virtual reality technology. But what I did see that I really liked was, and I think this is by EA, Anthem. It's a new Bioware, so I guess it's an action RPG game. It looked fantastic from what I saw. And they revealed it at their press conference and then showed some of the gameplay at the Microsoft kind of the Xbox conference. And yeah, that looks like quite an amazing, what would you call it? Post-apocalyptic humans in mech suits fighting monsters and things, kind of. I don't know too much about it, but what they showed has definitely piqued my interest. Another game that I've been waiting for a while, and this goes back quite a long way to when we first saw Quantic Dream showing the little kind of test footage. What did they call it? Kira, where it was a robot that was being built and tested, and then at the end she becomes sentient. And I think everybody thought, there's a game. There is definitely a game there. Well, that game is coming out. They announced it last year at E3 and they showed more of it this year. And it's called Being Human, I think. Detroit, Being Human. And, it's not everybody's cup of tea. I know some people really hate these adventure games that Quantic Dream make, these sort of interactive movies almost. But to me, it still looks awesome. I can't wait to play that one. Another game that was announced and kind of revealed, but we didn't really see any of the game itself, but saw a very nice cinematic CG trailer, was Beyond Good and Evil. And I have to admit, I haven't even played the original Beyond Good and Evil. I know it's supposed to be great. I think I've got it on PlayStation 2. I'm pretty sure I've got it on the PC as well as part of my Ubisoft account. I still haven't played it. I'm going to get to that before Beyond Good and Evil comes out. Beyond Good and Evil 2 comes out. I'm definitely going to play the first one. Well, what else? There are a couple of pirate games. I don't know about you, but I've been quite intrigued with the idea of becoming a pirate of recent from watching Black Sails. I only got into that within the last year and watched all 3 or 4 seasons of it, whatever it's been, from beginning to end. And I really, really liked it. And I would definitely recommend it to anyone, really. I mean, the theme of pirating was never something that really interested me that much. But a friend recommended the show to me, and he was right to, because it's really good. I'm recommending it to you if you've never seen it. And the 2 games coming out in the next year or so. First of those is called Sea of Thieves, a Microsoft game where you become part of a crew of pirates. Looks like a nice big fun multiplayer social adventure. It looks kind of cool. But the one that really caught my attention was, it's from Ubisoft. And what they've done is essentially taken the exciting part of Black Flag, the 4th Assassin's Creed game, and made a standalone kind of pirate naval warfare strategy type action game. And yeah, it's called Skull and Bones, and boy, does that look like a lot of fun. I wonder if it'll come out in VR. That would be cool as well. Yeah, because Ubisoft have done quite a few VR things, so maybe something like that in virtual reality. I wonder if you'd get seasick standing on the deck of a ship. You probably would. Maybe it wouldn't be a very comfortable VR experience. I don't know. And I think as far as talking about the AAA titles, the only other one that I was really interested in, and this will probably come as no surprise to you because I liked the first one, is Star Wars Battlefront II. And I know Battlefront isn't the greatest first-person shooter, and maybe you have to be a big Star Wars fan to really enjoy it. But Battlefront 2 looks like they've listened to sort of Battlefield fans who were missing some of those elements from Battlefront 1, and they've put a lot of that in Battlefront 2. They're also giving us what looks like quite an interesting single-player campaign, and I don't know if this is true, but it sounded like all the DLC is going to be free as well, which does mean there'll probably be some form of microtransactions. They're not going to want to give up on all that money, but yeah, Battlefront 2, that's definitely going to be a day one purchase. That's on the shopping list. Just the question is, do I get it on the PC or do I buy it on PlayStation 4? Or both. I don't know. But with all of those AAA titles out of the way, there were a couple of things that caught my eye that are actually indie titles. The first of which was this really bizarre psychedelic, what was it, like a rock opera or something? I don't even know what it was. I just was watching it thinking, that looks really good fun. And it's called The Artful Escape. I'm not sure who's developed it. It was shown at the Microsoft press conference. I just liked the art style. Maybe the game is rubbish, I don't know. But that caught my attention. But out of all of these games, the one thing that I watched and went, wow, I really want to play that, was another indie title that was just briefly shown again at the Microsoft press conference, and it's called The Last Night. And it's like a fusion of two graphical styles. It's like this beautiful cyberpunk noir Blade Runner style look with pixel art graphics kind of in it. It looks like some of the characters and parts of it looked like they were pixel art and other parts of it looked like a different art style, but blended together it just looked amazing. Sort of 2.5D side-scrolling, I guess, adventure game. I'm sure it's in some way like Flashback or Another World, and I love both of those games. If I was a game developer, I'd love to make something like that. In fact, I've got a game that I backed on Kickstarter a while ago, and I've only played a little bit of it, called The Way. And that's this sort of game. I mean, it's all pixel art, but I'm going to have to go back and play that and play all the way through it and do a little bit of a review of that, because what I have played of it was quite interesting. So that's it for E3. And well, I suppose there's one more thing regarding games. As I said, there wasn't much about VR, but I did see on the Sony press conference there was one game that kind of piqued my interest a bit, called the Inpatient. And I think it's set in an insane asylum. I think what I heard after watching that is that it's some way connected to Until Dawn. It's in that universe. And it looks like it's got Xander Berkeley in it, who you might recognise from lots of different movies. He's recently been in The Walking Dead. And it looks like a really good game. Looks very immersive, being stuck in an insane asylum, and there's an adventure story happening within it. So another reason, I guess, for me to get a PlayStation VR. But I think I'm going to wait a little while. I want a bit more of a price drop. They're about £350 here. I think similar, a little bit cheaper in the UAE. But I think once it drops to about £250 for the headset, I might jump on board then, or maybe wait till it goes down to about 200. Not sure, but I do want to get one. I mean, they're not as good as the Vive, but there are just some games that I can only play on that system, and that's enough reason to want one. But one of the other things, and this is not games, this is hardware, the last thing from E3 that I'm sure you've all heard about, the Xbox One S. No. The Xbox One X. That's going to be, I'm sure I'm going to make that mistake loads of times. Xbox One S, X. Yeah, the new Xbox. And I saw quite a good video about it from Rich at Review Tech USA. And he was saying, well, you know, will this thing be successful? And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, because personally, I don't think it's going to be that successful, but then I think Microsoft aren't expecting it to be very successful, because although they're coming out with their most powerful games console, I don't know why I keep doing that, the most powerful games console in the world, I was wondering whether all that extra power really matters, because, well, let's look at it. I mean, it's good value for money when you consider what is actually in it and compare it to PC parts. The thought of making a PC of equivalent power, $500 for that machine is really good value for money, considering it comes in a very small case. It's all built for you already. You don't need to pay for an operating system. £449 or $499 seems like a pretty good price to me, because it's almost as powerful as the specs. Is almost as powerful as the PC I paid £1,500 for last summer. For £450, that's pretty impressive, and it probably will perform maybe better than the PC I've got, because it's a dedicated system and the games developers will probably have more access to the hardware than a PC developer does. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that. I might be talking nonsense, but I think they're going to be quite comparable. Or comparable. But I think the problem lies in that, yeah, it's a lot more powerful, true, than the next best thing, the PlayStation 4 Pro. But does that really mean it's going to give us something that, when it's displayed on the screen, is that much better? This is where I think the problem is. I don't think it will be. I think it will probably be like the difference between the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, or the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. There is a slight difference between those two systems in both cases. In the 7th generation, you had normally the Xbox 360 was a little bit better. Frame rates were generally a little bit better. With the PlayStation 4 in this generation, similar sort of thing, that the frame rates are generally a little bit better, maybe the resolution is a little bit higher. I think that's the kind of difference we're going to be looking at. Now, if that's the case, where are their sales going to come from? Because, sure, there's already people who've got the Xbox One who are going to be looking to upgrade. For sure, those people are going to sell their Xbox Ones, go out and buy a new Xbox One X. But I'm sure Microsoft would like to convert people away from Sony to their brand. Now, if you've got a PlayStation 4 and you're looking for a graphical upgrade, you want better frame rates or higher resolution, are you going to sacrifice your entire PlayStation library and then move over to a new system and have to buy some of those games again and have to sacrifice some games that you can't play on the new system? Or are you just going to get a PlayStation 4 Pro? Seems like the obvious answer is to get a Pro, because you can play all of those games that you had before, and some of them, well, all of them will run a little bit better, some of them will run a lot better, and some of them will have much nicer graphics. So I don't think the Xbox One X is enough to entice PlayStation 4 owners over, unless there are some exclusive titles that are coming out on the Xbox system that you've just got to have, and I don't see too many of those. I don't think there's really anything I saw at the Microsoft press conference that made me think, well, I'm glad I've got an Xbox, or I'm glad I've got a PC, because it seems like everything that's exclusive on the Xbox is also on the PC as well. So I've got both of those systems, but I didn't see anything on there that made me think, oh, glad I've got an Xbox, because I think everything that I liked from that conference I could probably play on the PlayStation 4 or on the PC. So I think they're going to have a hard time convincing people to come over from the PlayStation 4. I don't think there are going to be any hardcore PC gamers who are going to think, oh wow, I want to step down to the Xbox One X, because what's the point? It's probably going to be, in my case, about the same as the system I've got, except with a much slower internal hard drive and no room for expansion. Or there'll be people who've got much more powerful PCs who are not going to be interested in it. So they've got quite a small market. And I suppose the other thing I was thinking was, say you've got none of these systems. Either you don't have any game systems, or you have a 7th generation system, you're looking to move up. Well, if you've got an Xbox 360, yeah, you might want to step up to the new Xbox, because you're going to be able to play all of those. But their own Xbox One S kind of cannibalizes the potential market for the Xbox One X, because it's half the price. And you can play all of the same games. Admittedly, the frame rates won't be as good, the resolution won't be as high, but you can still play those same games. I honestly think it's going to be quite a difficult sell for them. I hope it does well, because the hardware, what they've managed to produce at the price point they brought it in, looks like a fantastic feat of engineering. But will people want to buy it? Only time is really going to tell in that case. Well, that's about all I've got to talk. I say all, I've waffled on for quite long enough. I'm sure you'll agree. So thank you very much for watching. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of these things. I want to hear what you've got to say about any of the games that I've played, what you've seen from E3, what you liked from E3. And all I can say is, from my parents' living room to wherever you are, this is Psiman signing off. Bye-bye.